What's up, guys? I totally just botched my last video. I was about to do some math on stream, never do that, and it's the same hotkey to end the recording, and I ruined it. I rugged my own setup, ruined it. Gotta remember not to use certain buttons on the keyboard. Anyway, basically, this video is going to be about the worst possible thing you can do before Pulsechain launch. I'm going to tell you what that is. Okay. So, I'm guessing you guys like a lot more value versus a lot less value. So, if you hold ETH or are in an ETH liquidity pair before Pulsechain launch, you are getting this much value on the Pulsechain. This much value, okay? So, you are getting so omega wrecked, diluted, ruined, no value if you do that. So a lot of people don't know this about the liquidity pools, is if you're in an ETH pair, you are getting annihilated as well. Anything that has to do with ETH is getting annihilated in this event that's coming up. If you hold one ETH worth, say, $4,500, at Pulsechain launch you get one pulse. That is worth this much over here. Let me show you. This is what I believe to be the first starting price potentially, or no one will sell below this unless they're super dumb or something. This is what the average pulse sacrificer paid for a pulse. It's 1/10,000th of a dollar. Okay. So that is how much you get for $4,500 of value. Now it is an airdrop, okay? You're not like, oh, you're not going to get $4,500 instantly. Okay, fair point. But you can get a lot more value if you hold any ERC, well, I don't say any. If you hold a good ERC20, I would recommend Hex, just because it's admin keyless. Let's see what else we got. It's Richard's favorite coin. It won't be frozen by, like, if you hold USDC, it might get frozen. They might make the coins just not ever interactable. So stuff like that, or if stuff that won't have a front end, like at least Hex will have a front end, so you can actually use it, and you can use its use case over there on day one. You can lock it up, get T-shares, all that good stuff, which will be super cheap over there, by the way. About 20x cheaper by my calculations. You guys are just going to trust me on the math, because I've gone over this. I've done this video like 5 times, and sometimes I get into the math, and then it's just like you get so lost in it. It bores the crap out of people watching, so I won't get into that. But basically, PRC20s on Pulsechain are like 20x a better opportunity than getting them on like the ETH network. Now, it doesn't mean don't buy them before the fork, because that's kind of what I'm encouraging in this video, actually, is if you own ERC20s before the fork, you do not get dilution at all. You get 1-to-1 copy over there, and that ERC20 supply, PRC20 supply, does not get diluted whatsoever. So you have way more value than you get, like, it's so bad. It's so bad. You get like 1/10,000th of a dollar for $4,500, or you could get way more. Kind of like, let's see. I'm not going to get into the math on this one, because it just always ends up down a rabbit hole that is just not fun to listen to. So the worst thing you can do is be in an LP with Hex or whatever, or not Hex, with ETH. Do not be we are basically, what Pulsechain is doing is it's rugging all the value from ETH holders. They're not going to get diddly squat, completely bucko zero. And we are going to be able to capture all of this value into our AMMs by filling it up with Pulse, which is backing up the value of these PRC20s as well. It's going to be way less liquidity. By my calculations, it's like like whatever the liquidity is on the ETH chain, it's kind of like it's like 5% or something. It's 5 or 5.4% of that liquidity is going to be on the Pulse chain at launch. Now, and that's all calculated by just using this base price of Pulse at launch, where it's going to be just like 1/10,000th of a dollar, and then you're able to figure out the other side of the liquidity pool after the ratios have gone through by the AMM fixer bot. The AMM fixer bot also, the way it works is it goes and it think of it this way: if there was an inflation bug in Ethereum and they were able to mint 1.2 million x the supply of Ethereum, and they could go into the AMMs where ETH was, and they can just go and they can buy up. They just have like they have like trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of ETH, okay, in this exploitation example, and they're able to just dump it into these pools, and they can get they're getting all the ERC20, all of it, pretty much all of it. They're getting like 99.9% of it. Okay, in the one example I have, there's like 11.6 million hex in the pool. It ends up being like there's only like 10,000 or so hex that are owned by the original liquidity providers pre-fork. That's what they own, and then they get like 10,000 pulse on the other side to keep the ratio. Now, getting 10,000 pulse, if you recall, is only worth $1. $1. And so that is basically how much, if you owned like 2% of the Hex ETH liquidity pool before this fork, you own now 2% of, what is it? Of like 10,000 Hex and 2% of, oh no, you don't even get 10,000 hex. That's how much is in the whole pool. My mistake. You get like 212 or something p hex, and then you get 10,000-ish pulse. That's just how it works out. Which is basically, since each side has to be equal, because it's an automated market maker, and it has to be x times y equals k, constant product. You have $1 on one side, $1 on the other, so we're just saying that 10,000 pulse is equal to like 212 p hex. All right, so you extrapolate that, you've got $2 from like owning 2% of a liquidity pool on ETH, on the ETH chain. That's terrible. You get $2 over there. It's because you were interacting with ETH. Do not own ETH before the fork, or you will get almost no value on pulse. Okay, so, I got a little heated there. Now this is pretty important information to understand, because you could be missing out on like a ton of just free money by holding Ethereum, which a lot of people think, oh, Ethereum's good, it's good to hold. Well, you're gonna get like no value on the Pulse chain for doing that, because it's getting 1.2 million x diluted, and anything it's touching in a pool gets diluted and wrecked. Basically, it gets bought up. Oh yeah, I was talking about the AMM bot. Okay, so the bot goes in, and it basically, this is kind of what happens. Okay, the bot goes in, and it printed all that pulse because it had 1.2x million inflation, so it has to fix these ratios. So it goes in and it buys 99.9% of the PRC20 in these pairs. Now this is only the ETH pairs, okay? Now it goes in and it buys 99%. Oh, here it is. There you go. It's like 10,000 pulse. Hex. Oh my gosh. And then this is the pulse that it used to buy up basically 99%. Then it has to deploy. It has to redeploy all that pulse. Oh my gosh. The hex it bought. And the way it does that is it multiplies. Oh my gosh, doing math. Anyway, it's hard to do on a recording. But basically, this is how much Pulse has to be back in there, along with the hex that it held at those prices, because it just puts all the liquidity back at that ratio that it bought it up to, which is like 50 to 1. Oh, what the? Control Z. All right. So this is how much Pulse is basically minted for just this one pool. It's 576 million, which is not a lot of Pulse, guys. It's not a lot. I think it's about, I think this pool ends up being like 115. It's like 100. It's between 112 and 120 million. 120,000 total liquidity in dollars. But this is assuming that starting price, like I said, is per Pulse is this. And these prices are going to fly, flip, fly everywhere day one. So it may be 10x that, maybe 50x that day one. I just don't think it's going to be lower than that, because nobody, the Genesis address holders of Pulsechain, I don't think are foaming at the mouth to sell it like their Genesis whale bags at less than what they paid for it, like lose money day one of a project. Don't think so. So I think that's the floor price, is like it's going to be like that much liquidity, but I think it's going to go a lot higher. And people can add their own liquidity, and they can also buy up the price of PHEX or buy up the price of Pulse, and then it's going to be this crazy ratio thing. So these are just like very, 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 very early stage. This is what the amounts are, and the values of these pools are going to be. It's going to be like these lower amounts, but it all fluctuates with the price of Pulse, and all these PRC20s are going to find their own values, and then that messes with all those ratios and everything. So the important thing to know is, on top of this is what you can do if you're very early to the launch, is in order to buy, like, look how little money you need in order to buy huge amounts of hex, which is the exact same code on Pulsechain. 576 million Pulse. If you got in the sacrifice phase days 1 through 5, you know that that's like $50,000 or $45,000 worth. That's it. That's it, because you got the bonus multiplier, like 1.3 or something. So you can basically, if you double, I would not recommend just market buying double or whatever, but math-wise, if you double the amount of Pulse in this pool, like say you're the first guy to transact after the AMM bot for the hex pair, boom, you get like 6 million PHEX for like 45K or something. So imagine getting, this is where I said 20x better opportunity on the Pulsechain PRC20s versus ETH ERC20s, because listen to this, you get 6 million hex for like $45,000, whereas 6 million hex at these prices I think is like, it's almost like $1 million or something. So $1 million versus like, and that's how much it costs or whatever. So you need like $1 million in order to get that, then 60K or something. It's crazy. Yeah, that is right. It's about 20x. So that is why it's super. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to be the first guy to buy it, but you know, and these prices are gonna flew everywhere. But being able to buy hex, the same code on the better network, like it could be more valuable than hex is, and you can get more of it cheaper. Boy, though, man, can you imagine the gains? Oh my gosh, oh, it's awesome. So that'll be my first video I'm making today. I got a lot of other information. I didn't even go over any of these other things, so like, because this all had to do with math and figuring stuff out. But basically, the amount of minted supply from the AMM bot coming in, And it's not a bad thing that it owns 99% of the liquidity per se, because it's locking that liquidity basically into Pulsechain. It's not locked like someone owns that address and they could do anything they want with it. But I think that person or whoever entity it is has Pulsechain's best interest at heart. Okay, we'll say at heart. And so I was looking through like, oh, how much ETH is in DeFi and how many are in DEXs, and I ran the numbers on each one of these, like the top major AMMs, and I'm not sure if Curve is included, but I only ran into about like 2% or so of the total supply of Ethereum, and so that's kind of how much should be 1.2 million X into, Pulse equivalent, kind of in those pools. It's not exactly that math because it's complicated, of course. So I was trying to figure that out. But I actually found through a lot of my calculations that we was actually going to end up printing a bit more than the initial thought, 2.5%. And Richard even said in this video it's 5 to 6%. So I'll just prove that to you guys.
So does that mean that it's going to be a 2,000 trillion supply?
It should be about 150 trillion, I believe.
150 trillion?
Around about. So my quick math is like 130 trillion, and then like the automated market maker price fixture bot needs to mint some to buy everyone's BRC20s. I estimate that's around 5 or 6%.
So that
5 or 6%, you heard it here first. Okay? That's huge. That's huge, you guys. That is a huge amount that's owned by this address. I mean, there's also, you could be like, well, 95% or 96 or whatever is already owned by, the OA. But this is kind of like, it's circulating. This is like real circulating, not just like the out of never touched supply that just kind of helps market cap. This stuff is actually, here, we'll go down here. This is a great tool here. Because it's going to be in the liquidity pools. The Pulse that's minted is in liquidity pools that people can trade into, so it's available for purchase. So that's a bit different, I believe, than in the past, So that is like actually available supply. Now, 5 to 6, so this should be around like, well, my calculations, it was like, I was going to say 3 to 6% minted, just because I'm not sure if like MakerDAO and Aave are going to be included in getting like, I don't know how you can buy it up, because what are you buying up or what are you multiplying it by? So I'm not sure if it just gets the 1-to-1 ratios in those protocols or if it gets bought up like the AMMs do. So maybe that is where he's getting the 6% or something. So for like 3%, it's about 4 trillion. 4 trillion. And then like double that is 8 trillion adding circulating supply. Then you get 1%, which is of a 150, well, we'll say 140 trillion supply. If we add in 8, we get whatever. This 1%, Genesis address, you could say, or you could say dev wallet. I made a video on that, but I made a video on that before. And if you look up here, this is like the circulating supply, which is just like 12 million. This is 12 trillion from the sacrificers. The days 1 through 16, so not including the super supply increase by the OA. So these are like the real people that bought and stuff like that. So there's 12 trillion, but then you have to add in 8 or 9.5 trillion or so to that. So it's almost like we have this, because who knows how much of that liquidity will stay there, because like if other people come in and fill up the liquidity, maybe it just gets pooled because it's not necessary anymore, and then it's like less supply on the market. So we can't exactly count all of it as staying circulating. So it's between 12 and 20 trillion supply, you could say, for circulating. And we also don't know how this dev wallet is going to, react or do? What are they going to do? Obviously, I don't think Richard has plans to like shoot his own project in the head and ruin his own bags by just doing something stupid, by like dumping 1% of coins or something. But you have to understand what amount of coins that is of the circulating. Like, it's 1.5 trillion. This is for the dev wallet. 1.5 trillion of 12 trillion is what is that? 1/8. So 12.5%. It's 12.5% of the circulating supply, and that's just the dev wallet. Then there's the fixer address bot that holds 8%. It could potentially be 8%. It could be, oh wait. No, 8 trillion. I was saying 4 to 8 trillion, which we'll say 8 trillion. We'll just go with that. So it's between 33% of the circulating supply to 66% of the circulating supply, and this is actually like out in available. So I don't know. It's something to think about. I won't get into this, but I did talk about this, like the 20x. This kind of, if you guys want to see this sheet, let me know, and I'll like link it or something. But I was talking about the 20x. It's kind of portrayed here as well. But yeah, PRC20s are like amazing. At least PHEX, I think, will be an amazing opportunity. And you don't want to be caught holding ETH and getting 1 pulse each. That's the worst thing you can do before the fork. I'll just end the video there. Thanks for watching, guys. I got tons more information. I got a bunch of other clips. What is this? Let's just watch this. Why not?
Holder in a liquidity pair, then you're going to get more pulse and you're going to have less of your PRC20.
Okay.
And that's to make the ratio show.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so he says like you get less PRC20 and more pulse. But you get like, it's terrible. You get such a terrible deal. Do not be in an LP farm or something with ETH before the fork. Worst thing you can do. And then I mentioned this in my other video that did really well. Thanks for all the support, guys. You guys are awesome. The kill shot. Basically, I was talking about how important Richard was saying the Pulseswap, basically part of the Pulsechain launch, is to the project, and I mentioned that. I was like, you know, Richard has said in the past that how important it is, and he kind of brings it up again here. It's like, yeah, it's important, and so I'll just let you hear this.
I really think that this Pulseswap yield farm and liquidity thing backing all the value of the PRC20s by the version of the ERC20s is the kill shot. That's the most important part of this. And the ability to on-ramp users by just changing one setting.
Yep. So it's huge. Like, Pulseswap is huge. I have another video coming out about Pulseswap and some awesome things about that. I had so many notes. I got like, some of these are just front and back. I just wrote on all these. Just so many different. I got one here. Got a pile over here. Oh, just dropped some. Just a lot of information. It took a lot of work to put this together for you guys because I wanted to understand the math before I could like explain it well. Even though I didn't go into the math, but that's not even fun to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you like this kind of stuff, hit the like button, maybe the bell, maybe subscribe. You guys are awesome. I appreciate all the kind comments, and there will be more coming. All right. Peace out.